Peter Greenberg's Global Travel Update is presented by New Mexico True.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday in July, wherever you happen to be. As you can see, I'm a little bit further away than I was last week. I'm coming to you from southern Turkey on the Mediterranean in the city of Mersin, M-E-R-S-I-N. And of course, always happy to talk to you. It's about 100 degrees here, as it is in the rest of the world. Nobody's going outside. As beautiful as the Mediterranean is, it's hot. But we've got a lot of things to talk about. Let's start with the air situation. It's getting even crazier because the numbers of people flying in August are dropping substantially. People are holding back. They don't want to pay the money for the extra fare cost because of extra fuel, and the airfares are not coming down. We know that. That's created a very interesting situation, not just in the back of the plane. That may stay full. It's created an interesting situation in the front of the plane. A lot of excess capacity. And what are we seeing? Airline after airline after airline disenfranchising their best customers by doing what? Trying to generate excess revenue by filling those seats in the front of the plane by selling upgrades. So what's the point of being a frequent flyer if you have status and can't use it? So I'll give you an example. Someone's booked a ticket. They're a mega million miler. They're in the back of the plane. In the old days, by the way, that was 2 months ago, they would have been eligible for a free complimentary upgrade. They'd probably be at the top of the list based on their status. But what happens within 24 hours of the flight? The airline, I know this to be true for both Delta and American, because I've seen the emails, sends out emails to everybody in the back of the plane. That's right, everybody. Somebody may only fly once every 3 years, or somebody who just did an upgrade, saying, how'd you like to upgrade to business or first at a ridiculously low amount of money? So the person who earned all those miles to get that status, to get the upgrade, never gets it because he's being undersold for ridiculously low amounts of money to anybody else on the plane. How much are they being undersold? I've seen seats go for as little as $36 in business and first. And on one flight, if you think this is a typo, it's not, from Atlanta to Korea last week in business class on Delta, you know what they sold the upgrade for? A little more than, I'm not kidding, $17. The airline's obsessive pursuit of additional revenue is literally disenfranchising their best customers. Sort of like selling excess memberships to the lounges. Same principle. You're overselling the program and you're angering a lot of people. So I just thought I'd mention that. That's what's happening. But we're now starting to see some spot airfare sales. Southwest has one right now, up to 40% off their base fares for not only August, but part of September. That's normally unheard of at this time of the year. So that gives you an idea that there's a lot of softness in the market. Want to know where else it's soft in the market? This will be interesting. Hotels and cruise lines. The hotels have a solution for this at the high end of the market. They're just going to not discount their rates at all and operate at 50% occupancy based on the staff that they have, because they can furlough staff and make a lot of money by not renting rooms, by still maintaining their rates and not discounting, right? They have a choice. They can either discount the whole hotel and be full and make nothing, or only operate with skeleton staff or minimum staff, not discount the rates and fill 50% of the rooms at their highest rate. That's what they're doing. But where are they not doing this? In the cruise industry. At the upper end of the cruise industry, you've got some big luxury cruise ships, and they're all branded with names you know, right, in the last couple of years. Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, Orient Express. And these are cabins that go minimum $2,000 to $3,000 a night per person, right? Guess what? We're seeing occupancy rates on some of these cruise ships, the luxury cruise ships, of about 20% in some cases. That's unsustainable no matter what their rate is, right? And they can't furlough their staff. They're on for 6-month contracts. So get ready. They're an interesting inflection point in the luxury end of the cruise industry, because if they discount it, they're perceived devaluing the quality of the product. So let's see what happens, because those are unsustainable occupancy levels at the luxury end of the cruise line business. We will see what happens there. Now it's time for me to give a shout out, and that's to the Rome Airport, FCO. Why? Well, put yourself in the position of anybody flying to any airport. Let me set the scene for you. They always want you to be in the lounge. They're basically sucking up to the high-end customer or to any customer. You have to go through all sorts of security. They care about the security of your bags. They care the security about you and your belongings, everything for safety. You're on the plane, and then you land at your destination, and they do not care. Get off the plane, you're a refugee. And where do you see that the most? 2 words: baggage claim. What do airports excel in? Making baggage claim as uncomfortable as possible. No place to sit. Are they under the delusion that your bags will be waiting for you when you get there at the carousel? No place to sit, no place to plug in your phone to charge it while you're waiting for your bags. No place to sit down while you're waiting for your bags. At FCO in Rome, they did the impossible. Show the picture. That's me 4 days ago. See me sitting on the bench? These benches they run the entire length of each carousel. And what's in the middle of each bench? See that cord? Yep, USB plugs and electrical plugs to charge your electronic devices while you are waiting for your bags. I mean, 3 cheers for them to having some consideration. By the way, speaking of having some consideration, our good friend Gary Leff, he writes a column called viewfromthewing.com. I highly encourage you to read it. Great reporting on his part. There is a flight, an American Airlines flight from Aruba to Charlotte. Now, let me set the scene for you. Husband and wife are traveling together. There was only one great upgrade available. She got it. So she's sitting in 1D, he's in the back. And while they're flying from Aruba to Charlotte, she texts her husband and says, I have to eat gluten-free, and they served me a bread roll and some dessert. I know they're not giving you anything in the back. Would you like mine? He says, sure. So he walks up to first. She hands him the bread roll and the pastry dessert. And as he's walking back, maybe 3 rows, because there's not that many seats on that flight that are in first class, he's intercepted by a stormtrooper flight attendant who tells him he is not allowed to transfer first-class food to coach area. She confiscates the food and throws it out. How badly does she want to justify and validate her job? How ridiculous is that? How much does that engender ill will? And what price would be paid? What person would be injured if he was allowed to take the food that was served to his wife? He wasn't stealing it from somebody else's tray. Ridiculous. Okay, had to say that. Now, you want to hear about goodwill? I'm going to show you a video. I know it's a little bit promotional, but they deserve the promotion for what they did. The name of this person is Captain Jackson. Let's go back to May, when at 3 o'clock in the morning, Spirit Airlines ceased service forever. They ceased operations. Captain Jackson was a senior pilot for Spirit. In fact, that day was supposed to be his retirement flight. He'd reached the age of 65. And when a pilot has a retirement flight, it's a pretty big ceremony. He's feted by his fellow workers, his fellow pilots, flight attendants, ground personnel. Wherever he's landing on that final flight, the airport fire department comes out and gives him the fire truck salute with the cannon salute over the plane. That was now going to be denied to him. In fact, like every other Spirit employee that day, he was just trying to catch a flight home on any airline that would give him a ticket, because there were no courtesies at that point. And he catches a flight on Southwest, and he boards that flight wearing his Spirit Airlines uniform. And the pilot finds out the Southwest Airlines pilot finds out that it was supposed to be his last flight on Spirit, and he never got a chance to properly retire. So roll the video.
It was completely unexpected, and it just, like I said, it was kind of a bright spot on a very sad day of Spirit closing.
I mean, every kid wants to be like their dad, so growing up, I always wanted to do what my dad does. We've actually done it a couple times. I've gone and jump seat with him probably about 3 or 4 times before, and he's ridden on the 7-3 with me a couple times too.
My age was getting up there where this was going to be coming to an end. Spirit put a pairing together for me to go from BWI to Fort Lauderdale, and Spirit unfortunately closed their doors around 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday.
We were all kind of bummed, just ready to go home at that point. I just got us all buddy passes on, one of the first flights out that we felt like we could make.
Chris Jackson, the first officer, came up to me.
And I just said, "Yes, my dad, he's supposed to have his retirement flight tonight. He's with Spirit," and they shut down overnight.
So I told my A flight attendant, Danny, and I told my first officer, Eric, and maybe if we could kind of recognize them, on the way.
I was a dispatcher in charge for Flight 1450, Fort Lauderdale to Baltimore. About halfway through, the crew sent me an ACARS.
So an ACARS message, that's just like a text message from the airplane down to the ground.
I saw the ACARS from the captain. It was actually quite heartbreaking. Truly, it's already a sad day. How should we handle this? What can we do for them? So my first thought was arranging something on arrival to Baltimore. The other idea was a water cannon salute, because that's kind of the ultimate gesture for a retiring pilot. So I delegated the water cannon salute to my coworker Brett. I proceeded to make a call to Baltimore operations, where I got in touch with the MCC and operations there.
At that point in time, I wanted to jump into action and see what we could do to put something together. When someone's having a day like how Captain Jackson was having, doing whatever we can to bring his spirits up, no pun intended. That's what hospitality is picking up the people when they're down.
Really, when we landed on 3-3 left and I saw the fire truck sitting there, I haven't had any tears since.
Mr. Don Jackson. This is the Love Airline, LUV all day. I don't care that he was with a different airline. He is definitely not a rival. We're all family. We're all in aviation.
Very overwhelming. I can't thank you all.
Even a small part, a smile, a hello, just a wave can really turn someone's day around, can impact them. You never know what someone's going through. And obviously, we knew a little portion of what he was going through, but any passenger, any customer, any employee, just a smile and a wave can really turn their day around.
Seeing the video was pretty overwhelming for all of us. We were just overjoyed that the Baltimore team took it, and they just absolutely hit it out of the park.
It's totally unexpected. Southwest went above and beyond anything I ever expected.
It's Southwest at its heart. It's the Love Airline, and I'm very grateful and happy that this happened to my dad. And going forward, I just hope I can be on the other side of something like this in the future.
Luckily, that day I had a superstar team all around, my crew, my dispatchers, even the operations in Baltimore. Everyone just took off with it and turned into this big, gigantic thing. That way we can celebrate Captain Jackson's retirement.
Captain Ted said something that we're all bound by a brotherhood of wings. We're united by wings, and that's what he said, and that's the absolute truth.
And there you have it. I had to run the whole thing. A nice story. Started out with a bad story, ended up with a pretty nice story, all things considered. Okay, now let's keep going, because today we celebrate a moment of maritime history. And we're not really celebrating it, we're acknowledging it, because it happened 70 years ago this weekend. And a story that we covered. And in fact, if you go to our website this weekend, you'll see the link. You'll probably even see it today, of the one piece that we did about one of the most unusual maritime disasters in recent history. 70 years ago today, July of 1956, the sinking of the pride of the Italian fleet, the Andrea Doria, one of the most beautiful ocean liners ever built, and the ship that sank it, the Swedish-American ship called the Stockholm. And it's a remarkable story on so many different levels. Not to mention the fact that, yes, the Andrea Doria sank. It's still out there off the coast of Nantucket in 240 feet of water, 70 years later. But what happened to the Stockholm? That's the remarkable story. And so you won't believe it till you see it. So check out the link, and I hope you enjoy watching it. Lots of lessons to be learned then about what was not done right and what needs to be done from now on, and has been, by the way. So many lessons learned. Also, another interesting side story, this is 1956, and it was the first time a television network was able to record the disaster and the actual sinking of the Andrea Doria. The correspondent was Douglas Edwards. Some of you may be old enough to remember him. The producer, some of you I know remember, the legendary Don Hewitt, who went on to create 60 Minutes. They chartered a small seaplane in Massachusetts and flew out to the ship as it listed and then sank and captured everything on film. You'll see all of that in the story that we did for The Travel Detective on PBS. You'll see the link later on. Okay, more stuff to talk to before we get to you. This is a good story too. This is a good story I like because necessity is the mother of invention. And in this case, 3 cheers to the folks at Emirates. They just revamped, did a true makeover of all their planes, especially in coach. And you got to see this video. Don't run it yet. You got to see this video because how many of you, are on these 15-hour ordeals, right? And most of Emirates flights, are about 8-9 hours. Some of them go as much as 17, 18 hours. And you're back there in coach. And I don't care how many neck pillows you have, it doesn't do the trick. Well, somebody figured out how to design a coach seat that might just do the trick on 2 or 3 different physical levels. Now run the video.
It's great.
There you have it. Easy, right? Somebody came up with that. Gotta love it. It won't shorten the flight. It'll just make it a little more comfortable. So 3 cheers to them. Even to the folks at Air New Zealand where the flight attendant figured out how to do the cuddle class seats in coach. Every once in a while, there's a will, there's a way. And we thank them for that. Okay, moving right along to another uncomfortable story. See, we go back and forth. What constitutes inappropriate dress on an airplane? What do you think it is? Is it too much cleavage? A butt crack? No clothes at all? Okay, it's in the eye of the beholder. It's all very subjective. And by the way, under every airline's contract of carriage, they have the right to throw you off the plane if they think you are dressed inappropriately, whatever that means. They can also throw you off the plane if you have offensive bodily odor, whatever that means. But in a world where everybody's wearing a logo or a message on their shirt, since when does a message, unless it's vulgar, like the F word, or racist, or anti-Semitic, constitute you being thrown off the plane? So now we get into a gray area. This is a situation where a flight attendant went up to a passenger and said, who, by the way, was Palestinian, should have no bearing on this, but I'm just throwing that in, and said, either take your shirt off and change it, or you're not flying. This is what the passenger was wearing. Now, I have a personal response here. And by the way, as you may know, my last name is Greenberg. I have no problem with that shirt. None whatsoever. It didn't point any fingers at anybody in particular. It made a philosophical, moral statement. And even if I disagreed with it, I'd have no trouble with anybody wearing that. I have no trouble with somebody wearing a MAGA hat, or I have no trouble with somebody wearing I support Israel hat. I mean, that doesn't bother me. It's the world in which we live in. And does it matter if they're wearing it on the plane or I see them as I walk across the street? What's the difference? They're not directing it at me. They're making their own personal statement. And yet, they're not working for the airline. They're individual passengers. Now, we've seen story after story of flight attendants, pilots, gate agents being either suspended, demoted, or fined for making political statements with buttons, pins, headdress, outfits that make political statements of support for one particular group or another. That part I get. If you're working for the airline and you're serving the public, keep politics out of it. But if somebody's wearing a Kamala Harris shirt or a J.D. Vance shirt, they have the right to wear it. And I think the airlines are going a little too far. That's just my statement on that. And by the way, go back to that shirt again, can you? That statement is just real. No matter who the kids are, no matter who's making the claim of self-defense, it's true. Bombing kids is not self-defense, right? That's it. And if anybody wants to disagree with me, hey, we have comments here. Make your comments. But there you go. Okay, now let's go over and say hello to some folks. Michelle's saying hi from Long Island. She asked, does JetBlue's financial condition better after the Spirit bankruptcy? Trying to decide whether I should book a February flight with them. Yeah, they'll be fine to fly in February. In fact, yeah, they're not in the best financial shape. They have a debt load of almost $9 billion, which means I don't think any airline is going to rush up to buy them right now. But speaking of buying them, as a direct result of Spirit's bankruptcy and ceasing operations, all their arrival and landing slots at LaGuardia went up for auction. And they were flying out of the Marine Air Terminal. JetBlue actually flies out of Terminal B. Guess who made the winning bid for every one of those slots? JetBlue. They bought all 12 of them, and they're going to be moving over to the Marine Air Terminal, and they spent $58 million to get them. Something tells you JetBlue is going to be increasing service now out of LaGuardia. So I hope that's part of your answer. Jim and Harriet, we are headed to Boston on Tuesday. Are you seeing any slowdown on any domestic routes? Other than weather and wildfire problems from Canada? No. Linda saying, hi from Naples. I heard the ETIAS has been postponed to 2027. Is this true? I will check on it, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised. This is the can the European Union has been kicking down the road now for 3 years. And they had so many problems with something else they had this year called the EES, the electronic entrance system, that the optics just weren't good. By the time we reconvene, I'll have an answer for you, but I wouldn't be surprised. Mary Louise is saying hello from Tempe, Tempe, Arizona, which, of course, is burning hot. Mr. Cooney is saying hello from Boston. Paul is saying greetings from Ashland, Virginia, where it's 72 degrees. We're jealous, Patrick. It's about 100 degrees where I am right now in Turkey. Okay, someone's saying hi from Thailand. Adrian's saying good morning from Huntington Beach, 80 degrees at 9 a.m. Yes, that's true, but we all know the water temperature on the Pacific in California is not hot. It might get up to what, 68 degrees? Maybe? Yeah. Camilla's saying hi from Tucson. 105 degrees? Yikes. Whoa. Katrina's saying hi from Alabama. Alyssa's saying hi from Florida. Shannon's saying greetings from southern Utah, where it'll be 105 today. You have us beat by 5 degrees. It's about 100 degrees where I am right now here in Turkey. All right. Sid saying I'm flying into Brussels at 7:15 a.m. on September 2nd. Will the EES immigration delays be happening by then? My guess is no. The bulk of them have already happened. Brenda's saying hi from Stoughton, Wisconsin. All right, Stoughton. All right. Okay. Dr. Mary says, if you get bumped, how do you find out the reason? If it's oversold, will you get a cash payment? Well, the airlines are required to give you the reason. It usually starts because of, most of the time, because they've oversold the plane. Sometimes they substitute equipment for a smaller aircraft. They just don't have the capacity. But 9.5 times out of 10 is because they've oversold it. And that's when they ask for volunteers. Now, they're going to offer you a voucher and putting you on the next available flight they have. Anybody who takes the first offer for a voucher is silly, because if nobody takes it, it goes up and up and up and up and up. And at a certain point, it goes from a voluntary denied boarding to an involuntary denied boarding. And you'll know exactly the difference. They will tell you every step of the way. Okay, but you asked if you get a cash payment. My understanding is they do not want to part with cash at the airlines. They'll give you the voucher. But make sure if they give you the voucher, it's not endorsed with 55 different restrictions. What I do is if they do that, I want them to give me a voucher worth whatever the dollar amount that I agree to, and I want it to say good on any IATA carrier, right? They don't do that a lot, but if you don't ask, you don't get, okay? Robin's saying, greetings from Williamsburg, Virginia, with rain. Oh, we would like some rain, Robin. Sandra's saying, greetings from Charlotte. Dave Alpert saying, why does Priority Pass mostly omit LAX? What's your opinion of Condor? Okay. Well, there are so many lounges at LAX with interlocking, strategic marketing alliances, they may not need them. But you also asked about my opinion of Condor Airlines. I like them. They're not a low fare carrier, but they are a lower fare carrier. I like their candy stripe color schemes. I've flown them many times to Frankfurt from New York and from LA. And they have not just a coach class, they have a sort of modified business class, which might be premium economy in other airlines. But you know what? It's value for money, and you're not on for the food anyway. So I think they do a pretty good job. Kim says, what do I think of Norse Airlines we are considering for Greece next September? Well, right now, Norse is a low fare carrier, and they've been cutting back on frequencies and flights left and right because of fuel costs. For next September, you're not talking about this September, right? If you talk about next September, wait, because Norse, if they don't get some additional financing and financial restructuring, they may not be around next September. That's how critical their fuel situation is in terms of costs. So stay tuned on that. Scott saying, greetings from a pleasant day in Chicago. All right, Scott. Michelle saying, oh, great story about what Southwest Airlines people did. I love that story. Yep. Yep. Someone else said, Jim and Harriet, goodwill goes a long way. Yep. Okay, Linda says, on my recent trip, my route was canceled by the airline. That caused me to miss going to my final destination where I had obligations the next day. What kind of recourse do I have? Well, what did the airline offer you, Linda? Did they offer you their next available flight, or did they tell you couldn't fly for 5 days? Did this happen in the middle part of your flight or in the origination part of your flight? I need some more details, not to mention the name of the airline. Amy says, it's uplifting to hear the Southwest story. Okay, great. I'm glad you like that. Okay. Kim says, my friend scuba dove the Andrea Doria. It was amazing. Yep, it was. It still is. All right. Oh, yeah. Another anniversary Scott just reminded me of. Tomorrow, July 24th, also my wife's birthday, by the way, the anniversary of the SS Eastland disaster. Talk about a wild story back in 1915. So that would make it what? The 111th anniversary, but check it out. It's a great story to read. Okay, Paul says, I've heard that American Airlines is in financial trouble. True. That's a relative answer. Right now, more or less, American Airlines is break even. Delta and United made big profits last year. American did not. Does that mean American's in financial trouble? In the short term, no. Does it speak well of their management? No. All right, Iris is saying hi from New York. Holland's saying hello from Sintra in Portugal. We love Sintra. We love Estoril. We love Cascais. We love Lagos out there on the other coast. So when the weather is perfect here, 75 with a light breeze. Make me jealous. Okay, Sue's saying hi from Bellingham. I love that. Okay, And now, many of you know that last week I talked about the anniversary of a story that I covered in depth, TWA Flight 800, in July of 1996, the 30th anniversary of that terrible disaster. And I tried to explain how we covered the story and what happened. And there's some folks out there who still don't want to believe that. And you sent me some emails. Rick said, witnesses said they saw something going upward towards the plane like a missile. Well, we were able to debunk that, Rick, even with the most well-intentioned witnesses. Remember, normally light travels faster than sound, right? But in this situation, nobody was looking up that night, but they heard the sound first, even though light was traveling faster. But when they looked up, what they thought they saw was a missile was actually burning fuel on fire coming from the plane. It was an illusion. Zelkova said, Pierre Salinger referred to a terrorist attack as the George Stephanopoulos some years later. Multiple credible witnesses reported a streak heading upwards before the plane exploded. Okay. Pierre Salinger had a stellar reputation before his comments on TWA Flight 800. I'll leave it at that. And for those people who are still convinced it was a surface-to-air missile fired by a Navy ship, this plane blew up. And I may not be too specific here, but I'm going to say something like 10,000 feet. No, excuse me. It was higher than that. I believe 13,000 feet. The maximum range of a Navy surface-to-air missile is 11. So that's impossible. 11,000 feet, impossible. Okay. In any case, nothing. And then Christine says, it was shot down by accident. No, Christine, it wasn't shot down at all. A spark happened in a veritable empty fuel tank filled with fumes that was heated beyond its flash point. Anytime you have something heated beyond its flash point that's flammable and you give it ignition, it explodes. And that's exactly what happened. And to prove the point, the investigators went out to one of the boneyards where they park all the old planes they're never going to fly again, and got an old America West 747, same kind of model number, same vintage as the TWA 800 flight, 747, and they recreated the scene. They only put 70 gallons of fuel in the center tank. They stripped the wire of its insulation, and they ignited it. Plane blew up, just like TWA Flight 800. Okay, just wanted to share that with you. Let me scroll down here for a second. Did we get everybody? I think we did. Oh, all right. Terry's saying hi from California, Route 66. So Terry's giving me an excuse to tell you that this November, our 7-part series on PBS, Hidden Route 66, will premiere. Why November? Because that's the actual birthday of Route 66. A lot of surprises in that show. We love shooting it, and Terry was so great helping us with it as well. Okay, now, last but not least, let's go to the photo of the week. I love this photo. You gotta love this photo. Joy, I think it's Sek or Czech, C-E-K. Look at this photo carefully. Where was it taken? Where was it taken? In Sicily, in Taormina. I love Taormina. I love the hotels there. Oh my God, the Plaza Domenico and the San Mateo, unbelievable. But this is what she writes. It looks AI surreal, but it's not. While touring the Teatro Greco in Taormina, my husband, Skip, climbed to the top to get a photo of the bronze statue. As he turned around, there was Mount Etna in all its glory, seemingly floating due to the clouds that were ringing it. For a chance, I mean, what a chance opportunity that was. Look at the light, nothing superimposed there, no AI. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. You think you got a photograph that qualifies as the photo of the week, and you want to get up there right next to the Joy shot, actually her husband's shot, just photo contest at petergreenberg.com, and if we like it, it goes right up there next to that photo. A couple of housekeeping notes. I hope you'll get a chance to join us this weekend on the radio. We'll be coming from San Diego and the Marriott Marquis there right on the water in the harbor. And of course, Please continue to watch our shows. Of course, if you can't listen to the radio or can't find a station in your market, not a problem. We stream it online. Just go to petergreenberg.com. You'll see the radio icon. About 5 minutes after 10 Eastern time, you'll be able to hear the entire show. Again, thanks to Anthony doing all that hard work back in California. And thanks to all the folks here in Turkey for letting me borrow their living room to be able to do this. We will see you next week from a different location somewhere in Europe and hopefully somewhere just a little bit cooler. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you on the radio on Saturday.
Peter Greenberg's Global Travel Update is presented by New Mexico True.